4.
We're live here on Dirty Mo Live.
All right.
Very special Tuesday. It's not many Tuesdays where we get to basically preview a brand new Dirty Mo show going on the airwaves. Andrew Curlin here with Dalton Greco and, of course, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Thanks for joining us today.
It's been a while since I've been on this show, but this is for good reason. And really excited. Tomorrow is the episode 1 of Becoming Earnhardt. It's a new show. Audio podcast series that we are creating here at Dirty Mo Media. And we're going to show the trailer today. And whenever y'all are ready to do that. But I just want to tell people that I've been working on this idea for so long. I've been going to Mike Davis for at least 2 years trying to tell him I want to create an audio story of some sort, whether it's one episode of the Dale Jr. Download or it's a series. I want to write a story, right, and narrate it. And there's so many cool things that's happened in our sport that I just want to dive into deeper and learn more about. And one of the stories, so to get a little deeper into this, so
Let's do it.
in 1969, they had the boycott at Talladega for the the drivers formed this union, if you will, and boycotted the race. Bill France stood his ground, said whatever. They all left. Richard Petty, David Pearson, all the big names drove out of the racetrack, right? Taillights in the dust. The select few that stayed would end up running a race that included Grand Am cars, which is kind of like an Xfinity series from back in the day. And so Richard Childress had like a Mustang, and there's he's running the Grand Am race on Saturday. And so anyway, there's a great story about this in a stock car racing magazine, which was a monthly issued magazine back then. And right around the time it happened, I found a story in one of these publications, and it really spells it out, like what happened moment to moment.
Yeah.
There was a lot of moments in the garage, a standoff, if you will, where you'd look across the garage and see, Richard Petty and Bobby Allison, animated with Bill France Sr., and nobody's backing down. And so there was, and then they'd go and break apart and they'd delegate amongst their parties and then get back together and argue more. And this goes on for days, right?
Right.
And eventually, so anyways, we all know about that boycott, but this dove in with such detail. And if I take that article as the sort of inspiration and dive into every other publication that I can find about NASCAR from that moment and dig up more and more little quirks about the story, I think you could create a cool animated show about it, right? Or not an animated show, but a show I'd narrate. That would basically take the place of like a guest show on the Dale Jr. Download, right, whether it might be a 1 or 3 part series. I've been trying to talk to Mike about doing that. I want to do that. I want to write it. I want to create it. And finally, I found these scrapbooks my aunt made. This was several months ago. So she hands me these scrapbooks. You'll learn more about all of this in the episode that comes out tomorrow. I found these scrapbooks, and I'm like, maybe this is cool enough for Mike to let me do an audio, narrated show about. And so I take him these scrapbooks, and I literally physically bookmarked some spots in here that I knew would be good stories to tell him, right?
You got to hit him with the highlights first.
So I sit down in Mike's office, and I'm like, listen to this story. Blah, 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 blah. Listen to this story, Mike. Blah, blah, blah. And look at this. Dad, this is an article Dad wrote himself, right? Reading it, and he's like, this is amazing. I like it. And I'm like, I want to write a podcast. I want to write a spoken podcast about telling the story. And so Bobby Marcos, who is our sort of expert historian, he and I got together. We formed a basic Bible, if you will, of a place where we just funnel notes and ideas and thoughts into this. So basically, we started writing the script. And me personally, I don't know if this matters to people that will listen to the show tomorrow, but I personally have sat in my house and on vacation trips and for hours reading and writing and typing and sorting through what would be good to include to make this more compelling. And so this has my DNA in it, man. This has my fingerprints all over it. I'm extremely passionate about this. When we set out to really create this, I'm thinking, man, maybe this isn't as cool as I think it is. Maybe this is a niche thing. But I will say, now that I've heard Dirty Mo Media put its fingerprints on it, all the company coming together and throwing their ideas in there, and the sound elements. And what a sound element basically is like when I say, man, in the last 2 laps, David Pearson and Bobby Allison had a duel in this race that was epic. We're going to throw in that MRN audio of the race playing itself out in the last 2 laps. It jumps off the page, right?
That's
it
exactly
comes to life.
Yeah.
And so once I heard all of those things added in as Dirty Mo Media does, I'm like, nah, this is bigger than I thought. This is as good as I hoped it could be. I think when people listen to this, they're going to love it. The first episode is the first episode is the framework of what you're going to get into, right? The first episode is an introduction to the series. We get into the races. We're going to go race by race. Every race, right?
That's awesome.
It's going to be fun, right? I'm learning about this in real time with you. We're going to go race to race and whatever happened in between the races, right? There were penalties, probations, injuries, comebacks. There's all kinds of little personal stories happening to Dad throughout the weeks in between races, right? And so we're going to dive into all of that. That starts in episode 2. Episode 1 is an introduction, a table of contents, a cast of characters. We're going to take you back to what 1979 was like in general, so we sort of get you in the frame of mind of where we are. And then when episode 2 starts, we're off to the racetrack. And so it's going to be 8 parts unless we continue to balloon it up. But right now it's at 8 parts. And, episode 2 through 7 are basically the season. And the final episode is we're wrapping it up, and it's a bit of a where they are now. There'll be a lot of, I think by the time we get to the end of this, there's going to be a, well, what happened to that guy moment.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
For all of us. And we can tell you that. We're going to try to dig in. We're going to try to reach out to some of these people, connect to them, talk to them, ask them where they are. 2 days ago, I was on the phone with Bill Elliott just for a little stupid anecdote about a Dover race. Just some stupid small thing. So, like, hands-on. I'm very hands-on with this. It's been a blast. And this is what I'm all about. History, passion projects like this, man. Learning more about the history, things I thought I knew that have more to them, or I was totally wrong about my opinion of something, and it's totally changed by studying the history of it. And so it's going to be fun to see the reaction from fans, whether that's something they enjoy. And the reason why we have a scrapbook from 1980.
Exactly.
Right? My aunt sits down, starts doing the scrapbook in real time. When Dad gets his very first full-time ride in 1979, she's like, I'm going to do a scrapbook, Dale. You're my brother. I love you. I'm your sister. I'm excited. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to put news articles in this scrapbook. And she was diligent. Remember, like, this is a process that she started that was 10 months long, right? And you would think that you start a project, you're excited at first, you're going hardcore, you're putting in every article you find, and then it kind of thins out over time.
You get busy.
By the end, you're doing the bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
Not at all with this scrapbook from 79 and 80. It's very thorough, and my Aunt Kay is the one who was responsible for it. She actually found them in my mama's house and hands them to me, and I'm very thrilled to have them, but to be able to turn it into a project and tell its story is even better. So if this goes well, we have 1980, which is Dad's first championship season. Right. Also equally traumatic and dramatic and problematic. There was, I don't want to dive into the details, but there was a lot of crap going on, even in Dad's team, turmoil and splits and problems. And it'll be fun to dive deeper into that to really kind of feel like we are getting to know the cast of characters better.
Right.
You touched on a bunch of things there, but you being a historian, this being your passion project, and one thing I didn't know until you just said it was that you recently discovered these scrapbooks
in the last 4 or 5 months.
So what was that discovery like, and finding out that you hit jackpot? You know,
my grandmother passed away in the wintertime, and we were at her house, and it was, we were just kind of, so there's these Tupperware containers full of stuff. Mm-hmm. Ralph Earnhardt stuff, way old, right? Yeah. And pictures of people I don't even know. And it's kind of cool. At the same time, you're like, man, I wish somebody was here to tell us who these people are. Right. But you're going through this this just treasure trove of information about your family. I found old race programs and stuff from Ralph's era, from the 50s and 60s, with his picture in there, and stuff that I don't own, don't possess.
Right.
Even even autographs, like Ralph signing the back of a check or something. Right. That's so cool to me that he wrote his name. I don't have that.
Right.
And so we're just going through some stuff, and there was some more current stuff, like even 90s and earlier, some of the stuff about me with programs with my face on them and stuff. And most of the stuff like that, I'm not interested in. I lived it. I know it. It's too fresh. Now, I may regret not cataloging that stuff 40 years from now, but right now I'm totally into anything from like 1989 and earlier. Mm-hmm. These scrapbooks were yellow. I mean, imagine 1979 scrapbooks. They're bright yellow, gold flake sort of design, kind of cushiony back, hardback, but like a little cushion on it. I don't know. It's a weird. The clear peel back, throw the thing in there, and whack. It's in there, right? And so, she hands me these and goes, these are cool. Mm-hmm. These are something I made. And she really didn't get she didn't tell me exactly what it was. I open it up, and I'm looking through the pages. I'm like, oh man, this is from the era that I love. Look at this, 79, 80. This has got to be 79, 80. And I'm like, this is like in chronological order. And she's like, yeah, I did it throughout its whole season. I was doing all these local. It's mostly local papers, Kannapolis, Concord, but it's the same writers, right? The same writers for those papers were usually the same guys that were out on the beat for the NASCAR series. I recognize the names, Tom Higgins and all these different guys. And so I'm like, these are great. And there's a lot, and some races are thin. Sometimes, like for a couple races, it's literally just the finishing order. But then there'll be other races where there's multiple articles about the same thing. Like Dad wins a pole somewhere, and there's like 3 articles about him winning a pole, right?
That's cool.
And so
that's in depth.
Well, it is. But I will say that where it was thin, it forced me to go find, content around that race. Like dig in and go, well, what happened to Dad this day, right? I see he finished 7th, 3 laps down, but why? Did he? What happened? And so there's a lot of places to go find information, and I went to a lot of different places that I had access to. Some places that I knew had information that I just didn't have access to. But I'm like, man, I'm really impressed you made these. You got both 79 and 80. I love that I have this. And then like a couple days, I started reading in some of the articles, and a couple days later I was thinking, all right, I know there's a lot of Dale Earnhardt fans out there, and I know they know the numbers. They know the championships. They know the race wins. They know the year he was a rookie, but they might not know the details, and I don't know the details. Mm-hmm. And so let's all learn this together. Let's figure out a way to tell this story. And we're, I don't know how many years removed from that, 45 years removed from that. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's people out there who've never heard it, don't know anything about it, right? And one of the coolest things that I think I could do as a son that loves his dad would be to continue to tell his story to people who don't know it. And so I think it'd be a great opportunity. Like I say, if it goes well, we're going to do 80. We have all that ready to rock. It's a lot of work for all of us, but it's fun. It's rewarding.
You know what's cool about this whole project and just hearing you talk about it is like my introduction, like you just said, to your dad was the black number 3 car, right? And even that was, physically with a license plate that was on the front of my dad's truck, and it was a black number 3. And so to hear you talk about, chronicling this for your dad and my connection to racing with my dad, it's so neat because you're exactly right. It's what a son would want to do for his father. And I think that like you mentioned, this is a passion project. Hearing the first listening party that we did, and hearing your passion come through, it's just true to what we do here at Dirty Mo Media, and that's put out good stories with passion behind it, and really take care of the sport that we've known to grow and love. And so this is like, the true origin story for so many race fans, even for someone like me that's gonna know about now the number 2 Earnhardt and not the number 3 that I didn't see, so I'm super excited for this. I haven't even listened to it yet, and like the full thing, I'm waiting.
We've been waiting for the full
I'm gonna wait to be
I can't believe
a listener.
I got to listen to it with Mike yesterday.
Yeah.
And I mean, even yesterday we were listening to it, and I'm like, hey Mike, I see we got to fix this.
Like the last minute tweets.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
want it to be perfect.
Yeah, of course. I want this to be perfect. And so I'm gonna listen to, we're gonna be in that post process of making sure it's dialed in. And are you ready? Are we ready to watch the trailer?
I was just gonna say.
I think we should do
throw
that.
the trailer up for everyone to check it out.
All right,
we ready
here we
with
go,
it,
folks.
Let's do it.
Just going full-time in NASCAR is a dream come true. Now you have Dad in the Rod Osterlund Racing number 2. It's a really strong rookie field. You got Dad, you got Terry Labonte, Harry Gant, Joe Milliken. Dad's raw, he's mistake-prone, he's eager, hungry, and he's going to be causing quite a stir on the circuit throughout the season.
Right now, Dale Earnhardt has jumped into the lead. Buddy Baker is second, and Walker.
High speeds, door-to-door action, and all-out mayhem.
Trouble in turn 2. It's look out. Dale Earnhardt right below us has slammed the wall with a blown tire.
A serious injury that might derail his rookie campaign. But then, the eventual comeback. I'm looking back on my dad's rookie season before he was the Intimidator, and I'm uncovering details that I didn't even know. And this happens to be the greatest NASCAR season in history, 1979. This is Becoming Earnhardt.
Well, dang. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Chills, man.
I know. I think, when you were talking about it a minute ago, Dalton, when you think about the Dale Earnhardt that we all know, it's the Intimidator, black number 3, it's the Man in Black, it's all of those things. And that's the image of him that I have as well.
Yeah.
When I was reading through all of this and going and writing this show, it really brought to the surface the raw rookie that was mistake prone, that was naive, and like in the media, all of his comments were really driven toward trying to gain respect from the veterans. He was concerned about them respecting him. He wanted them to respect him, and he wanted to learn from mistakes. He admitted mistakes. He would shift years down the road to this hard-shelled, I don't make mistakes. Nothing wrong with that. What I do is, I do it my way, the highway. He was this different. He shifted into this different person, right? And what we get to learn about and remember, what we get to be refreshed with, is that in this moment in 1979, he was eager and excited and thrilled and over his skis, and problematic and in these articles that we'll read, he does a bi-monthly article.
Yeah.
Right? For a lot of publications. This was probably in the Grand National scene, but it was also in other publications throughout the year. And it was an effort by his publicist and PR group. There was a couple people that he was friends with, that he was working with back in that time, that thought this would be a great idea for fans to get to know you. You're going to write a bi-monthly article. Dad had an 8th grade education. He did not walk up one day and go, y'all, I want to do a bi-monthly article.
Yeah.
He did not.
I got a great idea. Yeah.
They came to him and said, you should do this. We're going to do this. You're going to tell it. You're going to tell us in your own words how your season's going. We'll do this together, and we'll put it in a publication. And so he writes these articles, and it's him in his own words. And as I'm reading them to you in these episodes, these are probably the funnest parts because we get to hear straight from his mouth, in his head, what he's thinking. And he dives into like, well, at Texas, this happened, and this is why we wrecked, and da-da-da. But he also talks about putting a roof on his mom's house and, just being a husband or a son and it's sort of the peek behind the curtain, if you will, that, the access to be able to hear from him in this moment during this season. It's funny because they only planned to, they tell Dad, they're like, we're going to do it through May. Early in the season, they're going to do this bi-monthly thing, and then they're going to quit. So it'd have been a couple, 3 or 4 articles, right? And he's having such a reasonably good year, and the articles, I guess, are getting so well received that they tell him he has to continue them. And he almost says at the very next one, he's like, I guess we're going to keep doing this.
And you can hear that in his voice, I'm sure.
I really hadn't planned on it, but, I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm not going to promise that I'm doing them to the end of the year. We're just going to do them until we don't want to do them anymore. And it's kind of like homework,
Right.
But as he starts to talk, it's like he loosens up and he gets into telling his side of things, right, in each article. And it's really fun, especially when we go into the injury. Later in the year, he has this bad injury, knocks him out of the car for a few weeks. And we get to hear from him. I'd never talked to Dad about this. I got a picture of me and him sitting on it's like a maroon orange couch in his lake house that he apparently just moved into. I learned that in this whole thing. I didn't know when they moved into that house. I didn't live there till 81. All right, so I'm not in this house.
Right.
He moves into it in 78, and as we learn in the story, and he talks about, I got a picture of me sitting on the couch with him at his lake house, him wearing his collarbone braces that are allowing his injury to heal. And I've got that picture. I have no context of it, and all of this, writing this story, has built context around this awesome picture that I have of me and my dad when I was, I guess, 4.5 years old.
That's crazy.
Fill the pieces in.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I know the year that this was taken. I know what was going on in his life, obviously by the braces and stuff. But I know that he just recently moved into this home. I don't live there yet. I must be visiting him on a weekend. So, to get in the weeds, when I moved in with Dad in 81, I have like one single memory of being with him before that, right? Like a visitation,
Right.
I remember being at his lake house and spending the night, and it's like this very, very really small, brief memory of only a couple minutes. But now I know, that we might have went there more than I remember or recall, right? I often wonder, like, how much did I see my dad during the time he was divorced from Mom till 81 when we move in. So 79, 80, was I around? Did he see me? Did he want to see me? How often did I get to go there with his racing and everything else? And so he has this injury. He's home and not going to the races, and we went there, me and Kelly, I suppose, right? Finding out, learning things like that is been so cool for me in this whole thing. And hopefully we have that same experience digging into 1980. We start uncovering and adding context to images and photos and things that I own and have in my own possession.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the most fun part was reading those articles from your dad. And it kind of makes me think, like, whenever I see an old picture of my dad, it's like, oh my gosh, like you forget, like he was the same age as me type of thing. And you going obviously through your entire Cup career, he can tell you things about what he faced when he was a rookie, but now you get to kind of read firsthand his thoughts and see it and kind of have that history come alive. Was that neat to kind of just be able to compare what your emotions were entering the Cup Series and navigating times, and like, all right, well, this is kind of his firsthand thoughts on that too.
Yeah, I think that was fun to relate to his emotions and his anxieties and nerves, but also his sheer determination to make it. He had, one of the things that I always was amazed by with Dad was, even in the, he's been, in the mid-90s, he would go to the racetrack and race like his freaking life depended on it, and he raced hard and mean and never changed. And he had that edge about him, and that meanness and orneriness and grit that you would see in a young rookie that's like broke and doing everything he can to make sure he stays there, right? He raced that way as a rookie and kept that energy till the end. And I never understood what motivated him to do that. People relax, people chill, people get comfortable, people, settle into a role, right? But that hunger and mean and ornery side that was always there in that race car never changed. And he was special in that way, because no matter how successful he got or how much money he made, his driven passion and intensity behind the wheel was the same. And man, it's hard not to change. It's hard not to change. Fame, celebrity, or even just job security and comfort. You go out and win a bunch and you become a champion early. It's easy to go, man, I made it. I don't have to I don't have to be an a-hole, or you know what, you go ahead. This spot's not important right now. I'll see if I can win, but I'm gonna race more, reasonably. He never changed his approach. He was just as, you see it in when I'm diving into this 1979 project, you can see that, the comments from the other racers about how he's driving too aggressively. He's got to learn this. He's got to learn that. And Dad's like, yeah, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, I got a little excited there. That was sort of his response to it. Yeah, I just, couldn't believe I was running with the leaders, man. I got really excited, and I'll do better. But on the track behind the wheel, he never did change that.
Right.
He got better and smarter, but that to, putting the bumper to you and leaning on you and just taking a race away from you, he never changed how hungry he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. And it's going to be so cool to just see the origin of that.
I agree. Yeah. We get to learn Dale before he won a race, before he led a lap, before he became a champion. And it's a very different Dale Earnhardt than the one I think we all got used to.
And I'm looking forward to seeing where is that evolution, especially when you follow him that next year, that's a completely different season.
One last thing I want to say, and this was important to me, right? When we started talking about this project, Mike is absolutely involved, and Mike loves the Dale Earnhardt story, right? And Mike wants to tell the Dale Earnhardt rookie 1979 story. But one thing that was really important to me was that I found all these funny, quirky little anecdotes that might not involve Dad, might involve other drivers or whatever. And we talk about that, some silly season stuff between different teams and whatnot, and just funny stories. There's a funny thing that happened to Richard Petty the night before the 79 Daytona 500. There's a funny thing about Kel Yarborough's ride home from that race. There's some funny things that happened to Lenny Pond in his career or throughout the year. Anyways, I find these stories while digging for information about this season. I'll find these stories. I'm gonna go, man, that's too good not to include, and I really fought for them to stay. And so as it's a story about Dad's rookie year, it's also a story about 1979 being arguably the most important year in NASCAR history. The Daytona 500 is certainly arguably one of the most important races in NASCAR history for 1979. The flag-to-flag coverage, the fight, all the people, 16 million viewers. That's well known. We learned some new things about that race I didn't know. Certainly about Dad's experience in that race that I didn't even know that aren't part of the broadcast or the things that are readily available to you. But we dive into the rest of the year and find all these funny little weird things that happen, like for the Wood brothers, Neil Bonnet, and just chance and lucky moments and breaks that we include. So it's a story about NASCAR. It's a story about that season. It's a story about a rookie that would become one of the most respected and revered drivers in the history of the sport, all encompassed in one thing.
Man, you got me fired up.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
ready to
I
do
can't
it.
wait for this. Well, Dale, thanks for stopping by
Yeah.
Dirty Mo Live and putting this whole thing together. You
Yeah.
know, this was something, as Mike said today on the download, that everyone should go check out. This was kind of, founded from your passions and your interests, and man, we can't wait. First episode drops. Yeah, go.
First episode drops tomorrow, and then every Wednesday,
Yeah.
right, we'll continue to release episode 2, 3, 4. It's going to take place of our guest segment for a little while during the summer. I think you'll be pleased with what we have for you. So I hope you enjoy it. It's something I've been working on and working hard on, and our whole team's come together to get this out in a quick way for you. So we're excited to let you have it.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
Well, you guys saw the trailer, and get excited because it's dropping tomorrow. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Dirty Mo Live.
We'll see y'all.
Awesome. Thanks, Dale.
Awesome.
That was great, y'all.
Yeah, it was a lot.